A daughter gave her father a Father's Day card. The text of the card read, "Dad, thanks to your lectures, I never change horses in the middle of a job worth doing. I know the squeaky wheel gets the worm, and I never count my chickens until I've walked a mile in their shoes. And you thought I wasn't listening." One time, a little boy was asked to define Father's Day. He said, "It's just like Mother's Day, only you don't spend as much on the present." Someone described a father this way: fathers are what give daughters away to other men who aren't good enough so they can have grandchildren who are smarter than anybody's. And then someone observed, "You know your children have grown up when they stop asking you where they came from and refuse to tell you where they are going." Well, there are lots of thoughts about dads, about fathers. Some of us today have only memories of our fathers. They've gone on to be with the Lord. Some still have their fathers living. I hope that you make that call or that visit. Honor your father today. In the English Standard Version of the Bible, some form of the word father occurs 1,672 times. Several times, father refers to God, and so we address God as our Father in heaven. Jesus himself often referred to his Father. On Mother's Day, we ask the question, what does the Bible say about mothers? It seems only fitting that on Father's Day, we ask the question, what does the Bible say about fathers? First, we notice the requirements of being a father. The first requirement, a father must be a man. Genesis chapter 1, verse 27. "So God created man in his own image. In the image of God he created him. Male and female he created them." God created man. He created the male. Then, as we recall, there was no companion suitable for the man. And so God made Eve, made the woman. But in the creation, God created man, he created woman. He created male and female. And in God's design, only men can father children. Secondly, a father must be a husband. Genesis chapter 2, verse 24, "Therefore a man shall leave his father and his mother, and hold fast to his wife, and they shall become one flesh." God created man and woman. He created marriage. In marriage, a man and a woman come together. They become one flesh. This statement from Genesis is quoted by both Jesus and Paul. In God's design, a man and a woman marry. And only in this relationship does God allow sex. This is God's design for marriage. One aspect of marriage is having children. And yes, believe it or not, a father must have a child. Men who don't have children don't get much attention on Father's Day. I just did not get much attention on Father's Day until 1980, after Angie had been born. I've been getting some attention since then. Usually the kids will call at least, or put something on Facebook. But these are the requirements for being a father. Sounds pretty simple, doesn't it? Satan has messed it up. But what God says, what the Bible says, is what matters. Secondly, we consider the responsibilities of being a father. A father must love the mother of his children. F.M. Hesburgh said, "The most important thing a father can do for his children is to love their mother." It's interesting that in the New Testament, we read instructions from Paul that the older women are to teach the younger women to love their husbands and their children. We don't find a specific instruction saying, fathers, love your children. But we have a very specific instruction that a husband is to love his wife. Ephesians chapter 5, verses 25 through 33. Husbands, love your wives, as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her, that he might sanctify her, having cleansed her by the washing of water with the word, so that he might present the church to himself in splendor, without spot or wrinkle or any such thing, that she might be holy and without blemish. In the same way, husbands should love their wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself. For no one ever hated his own flesh, but nourishes it and cherishes it, just as Christ does the church, because we are members of his body. Therefore, a man shall leave his father and mother, and hold fast to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. This mystery is profound, and I am saying that it refers to Christ and the church. However, let each one of you love his wife as himself, and let the wife see that she respects her husband. I remember an older gentleman. He was a fairly new convert. It was interesting, in his 80s, he had married a woman several years younger than he. We had a men's training class, and so we assigned everyone to do a talk. And he gets up and he's making his talk, and he basically kind of puts down the women in this talk. Like I say, he was new in the faith. If he had made that talk in front of his wife, she might have straightened him out some, though. We like, sometimes as men, that passage that says, women, wives, submit to your husbands. We like that one as men. But we have here a whole paragraph from Paul to the husbands. Love your wives. Now, it's really singular. The husband is to love his wife. And how is he to love his wife? It is compared to the love that Jesus has for the church. Jesus gave himself, gave his life for the church. He sacrificed himself. And Paul says, in the same way, the husband should love his wife. He should love his wife as himself. We remember when Jesus was asked, what's the greatest commandment in the law? He wasn't willing just to give one, but he really gave two that went together. First, love the Lord your God, and the second is like it, he said, love your neighbor as yourself. Now, there are those who have some problems emotionally and mentally who do not love themselves, or they love themselves too much. But a healthy person has a regard for themselves, and that extends to others when they have a healthy self-image. The husband, the Christian husband, will love his wife. He will love the mother of his children. A father must teach his children. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 4, fathers, do not provoke your children to anger, but bring them up in the discipline and instruction of the Lord. I guess the way we would want to write that would be, children, don't provoke your parents to anger. That seems to happen quite a bit. But notice here that Paul says, fathers, don't provoke your children to anger. And that second part, bring them up, raise them in the discipline and instruction of the Lord. Now, discipline is more than punishment here. It includes instruction, training, teaching. The father has the task of giving spiritual training to his children. Yes, the mother does as well. But Paul specifically says, fathers. They have an important role in spiritual leadership in the home. In a parallel passage in Colossians chapter 3, verses 20 and 21, Paul writes, children, obey your parents in everything, for this pleases the Lord. Fathers, do not exasperate or do not provoke your children, lest they become discouraged. An alternate translation is exasperate. Embitter is another translation. Now, children are to obey their parents, but this is not a one-way relationship. Ray Summers observes, it is a matter of mutual relationship. Just as the child has the responsibility of obedience and honor to the parent, so the parent has a responsibility to the child. Kenneth L. Bowles put it this way, parents, specifically fathers, have their duty as well. Even though Roman law and social custom might give them virtually unlimited authority over their children, God sets limits. Paul's picture of what fathers should be was so much different than the norm of his day. R.C. Bell said, since fathers are more likely to resort in haste to the much easier expedient of crushing authority instead of prayerful instruction and prudent discipline than our mothers, fathers are warned against provoking their children to resentment. It's easy to speak with authority, to even speak with a harshness and say, do this, and to even put a threat with it. If you don't do this, you will be punished. But that is not the best way. F.F. Bruce said, if children are exhorted to render obedience, parents, and specifically fathers, are urged not to irritate their children by being so unreasonable in their demands that the children lose heart and come to think that it is useless trying to please their parents. Have you known any parents like that? You just can't please them. The child may be trying very hard to do what is right, to be a good student, to please their parents. And in some homes, it's never enough. The parents are never satisfied. Owen Albright said, treatment of children that is either too harsh or that shows lack of understanding on the part of the parents can cause children to become discouraged or lose heart. The effort of parents should not concentrate solely on training children to avoid being naughty. Too much emphasis on eliminating what is wrong may cause a child to be negative. The proper goal for parents is to train their children to be Christ-like in their conduct, which includes putting on positive attributes as well as putting off negative ones. Children need heroes and role models to follow, not constant reprimands for bad conduct. One of the best things that a father or a mother can do is to live the Christian life, to have that example before their children. Yes, to teach, to have instruction as well, but to take care in how they live. John Stott said, again commenting on our passage we just read, behind this curbing of parental authority, there lies the clear recognition that, although children are to obey their parents in the Lord, yet they have a life and personality of their own. They are little people in their own right. As such, they are to be respected and on no account to be exploited, manipulated, or crushed. Next, we look at a very familiar passage from the Bible, Proverbs chapter 22, verse 6. Train a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not turn from it. This text, this proverb has been misunderstood and has caused parents a lot of heartache. Some of us as parents have done our best, perhaps inadequately, but we've tried very hard to bring our children up in the right way. And they have turned from that way. And so when that happens, we question, what did we do wrong? Or what did we not do? We have to remember that this is a proverb. It's in a whole book of Proverbs. And a proverb is a statement that is a general rule. In most cases, if you follow this instruction, you will get this result. But it doesn't say you always will. After all, children are not robots. They're not computers we can program. They, like every other person who has ever lived, are free will beings. They get to choose, and they can choose wrongly. Just like us as parents, they fall short of the glory of God because of sin. And some children will follow good instruction from the Bible and will follow Jesus. And some, sadly, will turn from it. Our task, as fathers, as parents in general, is to do what we can by teaching by example, to equip that child to be a Christian, to live their life for Christ. The responsibilities of being a father are great, but so are the rewards of being a father. Exodus chapter 20, verse 12. Honor your father and your mother, that your days may be long in the land that the Lord your God is giving you. One of the 10 Commandments. The child, whether little or grown up, is to honor father and mother. Most of us in this room have gone through that transition. There were the days when, as children, we had to follow the instructions of our parents, whether we liked it or not. Sometimes what they told us to do or not do seemed so unreasonable. And then we became adults. And especially when we became parents, we had some reason to reflect and perhaps to apologize to our parents for the way we had acted. But we honor those parents as we become adults. And even when they leave us, we honor their memory. So many posts on Facebook today honoring parents, fathers who've gone on to be with the Lord. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 2. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor your father and mother. This is the first commandment with a promise, that it may go well with you and that you may live long in the land. Paul quotes the Old Testament, emphasizing that still in the New Covenant, there must be obedience to parents, there must be honor to parents. And when that works, when it goes like it should, it is a joy to be a parent. Proverbs 23, verses 24 and 25. The father of the righteous will greatly rejoice. He who fathers a wise son will be glad in him. Let your father and mother be glad. Let her who bore you rejoice. Let your father and mother be glad. Let her who bore you rejoice. I think I've repeated that twice. As parents, when things work the way God designed them, when children obey parents, when they honor parents, oh, what a wonderful joy it is to have those children, even to move on to the grandchildren. Yes, the rewards of being a father are great. A 4-year-old boy said to his father, "Do you know what I want to be when I get big?" The dad said, "No, son. What do you want to be?" He was expecting the son to say fireman, cowboy, astronaut, leader of the free world, something along those lines. With a gleam in his eye and a huge grin of excitement, the son said, "When I get big, I'm going to be a dad."